All right, hey everyone, welcome back to my channel Salesforce Makes Sense, and this is my Christmas special video. And in this video, we'll be doing another lecture on the explained series, the one that I promised I'll be releasing on Christmas. And this time, this video is going to be about data validation. Now, why is data validation important? Without validation, nothing works, right? I mean, nothing. You need validation in about everything, in every aspect of your life, and data needs validation. Why is that so? Because there are cases wherein you have duplication, there are cases where you need data compliance, there are cases where you don't want to use your system exhaustively in terms of storage, and you want to ensure the right kind of data is used and kept into your system so that all your processes can be streamlined and there's no issues like sending out an email to the same customer twice, having 10 records for a single lead, having 10 attachments which have the same file. So all the data that resides in our system, be it anywhere, I'm just not talking about Salesforce, it can be anywhere. It has to be validated, it has to be compliant, and it has to be ensured that you do not duplicate data, which is why we have concepts in database management system like normalization, right? Wherein you ensure that every row uniquely identifies itself and it's not a duplicate, right? So today in this explained lecture, in this explained video, we'll talk about data validation and how we can write specifically validation rules. Like, so this video will be on validation rules. I had a lot of you commenting about Himanshu, I am not able to set up formulas. I'm not able to set up which function to use. I'm not able to write. I'm not able to put list view filters. So wherever you see these kind of scenarios wherein you have to apply filters, wherein you'll have to apply, formulas, you'll have to use existing functions. You don't tend to get a bit panicked, but once you use a specific function or a specific rule, it will be very easy for you. And my rule of thumb for all of these situations is just understand the problem, and whatever is your language, your mother tongue, your native language, it can be English, Hindi, Bengali, Telugu, Kannada, anything, right? It can be anything. It can be any language. Try to think of the question in your language and try to create an answer in that same language. Don't directly jump into what Salesforce understands. First, you take some time and understand what the problem is and how do you want to solve it, right? So try to convert the solution into your own language and then frame it into what Salesforce needs. All right. So just try to add that one layer. I think that is something that has helped me. I'm not sure if it will help you, but that is one approach that I've taken to solving problems. I try to drill down and grill down the problems into solutions based on what I understand, based on the language that I understand, and then I convert it into the language that the system understands. All right. So enough of theory, enough of lecture, enough of philosophy. Let's jump into our very first use case. So I've created probably about 8 or 9 use cases. I'm not sure, but let's take a look at all the use cases, and post we complete this use cases, I'm sure you'll be able to feel better about writing formulas using functions, writing formula functions, writing and or situation scenarios and all of that stuff. All right, cool. The very first scenario or the very first use case is if industry is technology, ownership cannot be subsidiary. Okay, now how do you ensure that the user, when creating an account, right, they put in that industry as technology? In that case, they cannot select ownership as subsidiary. How do you avoid that? Right? So one way could be you create dependent pick list, but then what if you want to stop the user from entering it even though the option is present? That's where we want to write a validation rule. Okay, so let's jump into Salesforce. Let's go to Object Manager and let's open the account object. All right, let's take a look at the validation rules down below. I think most of you know where validation rules are, but if you don't, you just go to the setup, you go to Object Manager, whichever object you want to write the validation rule on, you go to that page, and then you come here and right below at the end you see validation rules. Okay, so I'll just click on the new button. I think it will ask me to go to classic. Let's just switch to classic. It's the same view, and here I'll put a rule, right? So for validation rules, what do we have is three important things. One is the name of the rule. Pretty much everything needs a name in Salesforce. The second thing is what is the condition which evaluated to true should throw the error. That's the second thing. And the third thing is what do you want to say to the user? What do you want to show the message as, right? These are the three things. Okay. So I'll simply say industry ownership validation, right? Let's just call it this. All right. Now, what did I say? Let's solve this in our language. The first thing is, if industry is technology, ownership cannot be subsidiary. What is another way to say this? Basically, what you need to do here is you need to write what is the condition for which it should throw the error. Okay, so you need to write the error condition here, not the success condition. Make sure that you write the error condition. That's why it's called the error condition, right? You don't write the success condition here. So how do I read it? I say if the industry is technology, ownership cannot be subsidiary. Okay, so if I were to write it here, so I'll say industry equals technology and ownership is subsidiary. If this happens is when I want to throw the error. Is that understanding correct? Let's take a look. Right? Do I throw the error here? Yes, because it says that industry, if it is technology, ownership cannot be subsidiary. So if someone goes in and chooses industry as technology and chooses ownership as subsidiary, that's when I want to tell them you have chosen the wrong ownership. Correct? That's my error condition. That's my error condition. Now this is what I wrote in English. How do I convert it into Salesforce language? I can simply use these two things here. I can use this to insert the fields. So if I have to find any fields, so on the account, I can see all the fields. What are the fields? Let's see. Do I have the industry field? Yes, I do. So I'll just pick the industry field. That's my industry field. Okay, let's just say equals is an equal, which is basically nothing but an operator here. See, equals is this guy right here. Okay, and then I need to compare it with a string, right? So string is what? Technology. Now, every string literal has to be within single quotes. Ensure that. Okay, that's the very first thing. So you see, the first line that we wrote in English, our understandable language, is now converted into Salesforce language. Cool, that's the first step. What about the second thing, and, right? So and can be written as and like this. Okay, so you can say and here. And then ownership is another field. So I need to insert the field. I'll choose the field here. I'll go to O and I should find ownership. Okay, this is a pick list field and so is the industry field. Just keep that in mind. And this should not be, ownership should be equal to subsidiary, right? So I'll just say equals subsidiary. So if these two things are true, I can now get rid of my English statement. I can say that if this happens, right? I'll just put them in a single line. I can say that if this happens, it should throw the error. Okay, but let's check the syntax whether what we have written is valid or not. Okay, if it is not, it will throw us an error. So I'll say check syntax. So this compiler is very strong. Okay, so you'll get an error and it will be very close to what you need. So this is saying here that the field industry, meaning this field that we have put, is a picklist field, right? I told you it's a picklist field. Picklist fields are only supported in certain functions, meaning you are trying to equate a picklist with a string, which is not allowed. Which is why what you have to do is you have to convert what you get from the picklist into a text field, right? So we need to find out what function is available in this list for us to do that. Okay, so I'll just go to the text option and here I'll just try to casually take a look and just see if there's something that helps me or is probably. So you see this one right here, it says is pickval, very something close to the pick list, right? So I'll just stop there and I'll try to read what it says. It says is pickval, it takes the field and takes a literal and checks whether the value of a picklist field is equal to a string literal. So that is exactly what we want to do, right? So what I'll now do is I'll just come down, I'll say insert selected function, and here I'll put the picklist field. What is the picklist field? It is nothing but industry. That's my picklist field. That's the name of the field. And what is a text literal? It is nothing but technology, right? So I can use this function in order to compare a picklist with a text field. Now I'll just get rid of this particular line because this is not correct. I'll just replace here and I'll now just say check syntax. Let's see what happens. So now it says all is good with the industry field. However, ownership is a picklist field. So you have to do something similar for that. All right. So ownership also has to be updated into this particular function, right? So I'll simply add this function here. I'll put the ownership field here as the field, and this should be subsidiary. I'll get rid of this particular statement because this is not compilation true or it's not compilation error free. And now I'll just say check syntax. So you see, it says no error found, so which is a green signal to go ahead, and that is our error condition criteria. Okay, I'll simply say you have chosen the wrong ownership, and I can just keep it on the top of the page, or I can put it on a field. I'll just put it on the ownership field, just right here. Okay, let's say save. So you see this got saved. I'll just go in here. I'll just go and open an account record. And let's try to go into this account and choose industry as technology and ownership as subsidiary. So industry as technology and ownership as subsidiary, right? Let's see what happens. So you see, it says you have chosen the wrong ownership, and this is coming from our custom validation rule that we have put. Make sense? Now, if I choose industry as something else, should it fail? No, it should not. So I'll just say telecommunications and go ahead. This works fine and saves the record. What if this is technology, right? And what if I choose something else here? Should this go away as true? It should go and save it, right? So I'll just try to save it. See, this also worked. So this is how you have been able to successfully build your first use case and try to validate data before user trying to enter it. And you can do this for pretty much any field in the system for every object. You get validation rules for all the objects. So that's just one way of what I'm showing as validation rules. You can think of how many use cases there might be. Right? Your client might say that, hey, I'm looking at a lot of duplicates in the system. Can you find a way to eradicate them? So you can set up some rules, right? I don't want the user to choose this particular value if this particular value is set, or this value is greater than this value. Can I set something up? Can I stop the user from doing that? Yes, you can do that. You can use validation rules and you can stop the user from doing that. All right. So that was our first use case. Let's quickly jump into the second use case. This says if ownership is private, SIC code should always be 1452. Okay. Let's jump into this use case, and this will be another validation rule. Okay. So I'll just go ahead and I'll say new, and here I'll say ownership SIC validation. Meaningful names. If you want to add a description, feel free to add. It's a very good practice. Okay. I'll say SIC code should always be 1452. This is what I want to give it as the message, because if they have chosen ownership as private, they have to always keep SIC code as 1452. Now, write this line in your language in the machine, and then we'll convert it into Salesforce language, right? Try this on your own. Pause the video and try it on your own. It will be very helpful for you. If not, I'm just solving it right away. Okay, so if ownership is private, meaning I'll just have to write the error condition. So I'll say ownership equals private. I hope you get the hang of this. And SIC, right? What does it say? SIC code should always be 1452. So if they've entered anything apart from 1452, that's when I want to throw the error. Correct? So this is my error condition. So for not equal to, what do you have? You have something here that's called not equal. So I'll just get rid of this particular English line, and I'll just convert it into this particular operator. Okay, now let's bring in the fields. So instead of ownership, I'll get the field from here. I'll say just go to O, and then I should have ownership, which is again a pick list field. See, the type is here, pick list. What do I have to do? I have to convert this into a is_pickval function, right? We just did it. So I'll just say is_pickval. Now, is there any other way, Himanshu, to just check this thing? Yes, there is. So instead of using is_pickval, there's another function that's called text. Okay, so anything that you have inside will be converted to a text value, and since your value that you're comparing it with is a text value, you can simply convert this into a text like this. So just keep your field enclosed within the text function. This will convert the ownership pick list value into a text, and you will be able to compare it with a string literal. That is allowed. You want to see the syntax? If I just say insert selected function, see, this is how it is written. Same thing. Okay, so whatever is the value of the ownership field will be captured here, will be converted to text, and it will be equated with private, and if it will be true or false based on whatever it is. Okay, if it is set as private, this will be evaluated as true, and then it will evaluate the remaining part of the condition. Now, what is SIC? I'll just get rid of this here, and I'll simply just go into account, and I'll just try to find SIC code. So SIC code is here, which is of type text. So we don't need any functions. I can simply say SIC not equal to 1452 within string literals, and I'll say check syntax. All right, no errors found. See, we are smarter already just after the first use case. I'll just put this on the SIC code, right? And then I'll say save. So this is activated. I'll just go back here. Now, what do I want to do? I want to just say ownership as private. Let's just say ownership as private. Where is ownership? This right here. Just say private, and SIC code, I'll just say 1452. Should this save up fine? Yes, it should save up fine. See, all good. But now, what if I just go ahead and say 1453? Should it fail? Ideally, it should fail. So it failed, right? It's saying SIC code should always be 1452. What should happen if I just switch to public and I keep this 1453? Will it fail? It will not fail because the first condition is that the ownership should be private, right? So it's working perfectly fine. Cool. What if you want to not use a validation rule? Let's say your project was just starting, or let's say you were in a data migration phase. You wanted to set up some rules so that no irrelevant data could enter the system. So you configured some rules here, right? And you want to turn them off later. How do you do that? You just uncheck this active box. So I'll just go ahead and say edit. I'll simply uncheck this box. I'll say save. That's it. Your validation rule is inactivated. All right. I'll just go in here. I'll say inactive. So this is how you can inactivate a validation rule. Inactive, save. All right, so we have created two validation rules, and we have inactivated them. How do I delete them? I don't want them inactivated. I can delete them. Yes, yeah, you can just click on this delete button here and you can delete them. Just say delete. Are you sure? I'm sure. I'll just say okay, and these are deleted. All right, awesome. Let's move on to our third use case. So if the lead source is phone inquiry, phone and home phone should not be empty, right? Meaning if lead source is selected as phone inquiry, there are two fields that should not be empty. All right, which means both phone and home phone should have a value entered into the system, or else the record will not be saved until it is done. Okay, so now you have three fields, right? We have seen two fields working hand in hand using the AND operator, but now we need to take a look at three fields. Okay, so let's build this use case. So this is on the lead object because this is called lead source. So let's go to the lead object and let's go to lead validation rules, right? And let's delete this particular operation, I mean validation, and let's create a new one. All right, let's go ahead and say new, and here I'll say lead source and phone validation. All right, now let's write this in English. Lead source is equal to phone enquiry and home phone is empty and phone is empty. Right? If this happens is when I want to throw the error. This is my error condition, correct? So let's try to now convert this into Salesforce language. So first of all, lead source. So let's take a look at source. I think this would be in L maybe, lead source. This right here, it's a pick list value, right? So I need to say lead source should be enclosed with the text function equals phone enquiry, right? This is my first condition. What is my second condition? My second condition is that the home phone should is empty. So I'll just go here and I'll say phone. So this is my second field, right? Is empty. Now, how do you check is empty? Right now, in order to check is empty, you have certain functions which are available here. So if you take a look at these functions, I would encourage you to just take a look at all of them here and try to see which one. Okay, see, I found one that says blank value. I'll just go ahead and read about it. I'll say blank value, you need an expression and a substitute expression, but then I don't have any substitute expression to replace, right? So I don't need this function. I'll continue going on, right? So I'll just say contains, okay, date value, day, distance, okay, find geolocation r, if includes also needs to check something if it is included or not, is blank, right? So I'm saying is blank is available. Let's go ahead and try to use is blank function. So I'll say is blank. Right now, if you take a look at this particular function, it says checks whether the expression that is entered is blank or not. If it is blank, it returns true or false. So you don't need to equate it to anything because this will return a boolean, or rather a checkbox kind of a information, either true or false, yes or no. So you simply say whether the phone is blank or not. If it is blank is when I want to throw the error, correct? So that's my condition, and I can use the same function to check for home phone. Let's just quickly check if the home phone field is available, or maybe a mobile field. Let's check. Let's see, mobile is here. All right, so we'll use the mobile phone. All right, these are the two fields we'll use. So if these three things go hand in hand is when I want to throw the error, correct? Now what I've done is, as of now, I've used this particular AND operator, but even this is available as a function. If I take a look at this particular section here and I go to the logical, um, I go to the logical section, yes, I have to go up, there's an AND function. So within a single AND function, if I just click here and I insert this function, you'll see that I can add many logical operations. Now each of this particular checks are called logical statements, right? So what I can do is I can simply encompass this with the AND function. So my first logical statement is this, my second statement is this, and my third statement is this, and I then close the AND function. That's how you write an AND clause without using that operator directly. Okay, so what I've done is, now if you read this, if the lead source is phone inquiry and the phone is blank and the mobile phone is also blank, I want to throw the error. Let's quickly check the syntax. So it says no errors found. We are good. So I'll say phone and home phone are mandatory. All right, let's go ahead and try to say save. Okay, and now let's give this a try. I'll just take a look at the lead um, record. Let's jump into a lead record. Let's come here and let's open this guy right here. And what should be my lead source? It should be phone inquiry, right? So I'll just go to details and my lead source here should be phone inquiry. So I'll just switch to this inquiry. I'll just quickly check whether I use the same character here, which is E here, right? This should be I. So I'll just fix this. Let's save this again. And now let's test it out. So this is phone inquiry. And now I've left the phone and mobile empty. Let's click on the save button, right? So this says that the fields are mandatory, right? I'll just go ahead and try to fill this out with some random numbers and this should now save up fine. Let's give that a check. So you see, you're able to save the phone and mobile now. All right, we learned a good deal here. We learned about how you can use the function exactly, the AND function. We looked at something to check null values or blank values, right? So we use the isBlank function, and then we catered three different logical operations. All right, let's jump into the fourth use case. So this use case says when a user creates a contact record, birth date should always be in the past, right? Now, what does that mean? This means that we'll have to write a validation rule on the contact record. And whenever a user is creating a record, we need to ensure that our validation rule runs only for the creation, right? In that case only, the birth date should always be in the past. Meaning, if the user tries to update their birth date and they put it on the future, that should work fine, right? I know it is not relevant, but it's because I want to show you a function. All right, so let's jump into the use case here. Let's just go ahead and go to the contact object and let's create a validation rule here. All right, so we'll jump into the contact record and we'll create a new validation rule. Something with my network, let's see. All right, let's create the new validation here for contact. I'll simply say birth date validation, right? And here, what do I need? I need to write in English that the birth date is less than today's date. Is this true? No, this is not true. This is the success criteria. I want to say whenever they put something that is greater than today's date is when I want them to see the error. I don't want them to proceed. And this should only happen when, when record is new. All right. Now, how do you tackle whether a record is new or not? So here, if you take a look at the functions and you go into I, you'll see that there's something that's called is new. So this returns true or false if the record is new, otherwise it returns false. So I'll simply use this particular function. Okay. So if the record is new, now what do you need? You need an AND clause, right? Do you want to write the AND ampersand sign? No, let's use the function because now we know about it. So I'll say and then let's put the second condition. So I need the field birth date. So let's go into insert field. Let's come here and let's choose the birth date field. This is a date field and this should be greater than today's date. Right? Now, how do you ensure today's date? So for this also you have a function. So if you take a look at the date time category here based on your requirement, you'll notice that you have something that's called today, which is a function that returns you today's date. this one right here. Okay, this is the one that returns you the current date, and if you choose the now, it returns you the current date and time. Now since we are using a date field, we want to use a date function. Okay, that's why I have not used the now function. I'll just say today. All right, so if these two things evaluate to true is when I want to throw them the error. I can get rid of my English lines and I can just say check syntax. All right, this is perfectly fine. I'll say birth date on record creation should be in the past. All right, I'll just put it on the birth date field. Let's say save. Let's go and look at a contact record. And let me just try to go to brand dent here, which is an already existing record. And let's put a birth date that's greater than today's date. And this is an update that we are doing, right? So let's just go ahead and say birth date is 25th. Will it save? It saves a fine. But what if I go ahead and just go to, let's say, a new contact record, and now I try to do the same thing. I'll just say new. I'll put the salutation, say new guy, and here I'll put the birth date as something in the future. Now, will this allow me to do that? Ideally, it should not, right? Our validation rule should work, and it is working perfectly fine. Birth date on record creation should be in the past. All right, working perfectly fine. And the reason I did this way is because I wanted you to learn the is new operator, is new function, not the operator, right? Great. That was use case number 4. This is very quick learning, and I hope the speed that I am in is something that you're able to follow. In case you're not able to follow the speed, drill down to 0.75x or maybe less than that. But ideally, I suggest staying on this speed because you learn faster, I'm sure. Okay, and if you are someone who's trying to do this with me, looking at the use case and not waiting for me to do it, that's amazing. Just try to do it. If you're able to figure out, just see what is it that I'm doing differently and what is it that you did better, maybe, right? Just put it in the comments. Great. Use case number 5. Email field on the contact should always end with .com, right? This is more like a regex pattern check, right? But I've just kept it a very simple one. I want to explain you a function. So email field on the contact, meaning let's jump into the contact validation rule and let's say a new one. So I need to ensure every email that is put is a relevant email. So I'm just doing a validation saying that it should end with a .com, right? Imanshu, is that sensible? No, it is not. Some emails don't end with .com, maybe, right? So, but just for the use case so that you know how to figure it out. So email doesn't end with .com. If this happens, I want to throw the error. This is my error condition. Correct. How do I do that? So instead of the email here, I can simply get my field from the insert field button. I'll come here and I'll say insert email field, which is the same API name. Now, how do I check doesn't end with, right? So I'll have to look into the function here. All right, let's take a look at what is possible. So you see there's something that's called begins, but we want to check ends, right? So is there something that's called ends? No, only begins is available. All right, but let's see what do we have. There's something that's called find. Okay, what does find do? It takes a look at a text, right, in a field, and it returns the starting index of the text. Okay, do we need the starting index? No, we just want to see whether a string ends with a certain keyword or not, right? So this is not our function. Includes, what does includes do? It looks at a multi-select pick list, but we have a text field, or rather an email field. It is not a multi-select pick list, right? It's not a multi-select pick list. So includes is also not of our use. What about is changed? No, because it will just check whether a field was changed or not. Okay, you see left. What is left? Left is saying that put in a text and the number of characters. It will return the specified number of characters from the start of the text string, meaning the left side of a text. If I just say h@m.com, the left side of the text is here. So if I simply say left of text 1 comma 3, what it will do is it will take 0 1 2 3 and return this particular string. Okay, it will return the result as h@m dot. So if I were able to find something similar to left, let's say right, would that be helpful? Let's see, I have a right function available. So I'll just get the right function. I'll say insert. I'll put the text field as the email field that I want to look at, and the number of characters will be 3. Okay, let's see what happens. Okay, now if I say right of email comma 3 is not equal to com, all right, is where I'll say this is not a relevant email. Okay, this is how I would check it. But why did I write not equal to like this? This is another way of writing it. You can either write it this way or you can write it this way. Both are the same things. All right, so let's click on the check syntax button. So this says no errors found. And if error is found, I'll say emails should always end with .com. Let's say move it to the field level and let's save it and let's give it a try. Let's see what happens. Okay, let's come back to a contact. Let's say Brian Dent is here. I'll just go to the details tab and here let's try to change this into double COM or let's say triple COM and say save. This is getting saved because the last three are still .com are COM, right? So ideally we can use the dot keyword also. All right, let's put the dot keyword and then we'll have to increase this particular to 4, right? Because that's the number of characters we want to search. Let's say save. And now let's give it a try again. Let's now just say, I'll not do anything in the end. Let's see if our previous use case now works. So you see, it's saying it should end with .com. Now if I remove the double C's here and let's see what happens now. So it saves up fine. You have successfully been able to do more like a email related validation. How cool is that? Just by validation rules. All right. I hope you got this particular function, the right function. Now, if you have something to start with, you can use the begins function or you can use the left function, right? That gives you more ideas. Awesome. Let's jump into use case 6. This use case is that the home phone field should always be 10 characters only, meaning the home phone, if entered, should always be 10 characters. It should not be less or more than that. All right. So this is again on the contact validation rules. I'll just go ahead and say new and I'll say home phone length validation, right? I want to check the length, right? And because of this keyword, you might start thinking, is there a length function? And there is. There's a function that returns the number of characters in a text string. Okay, but let's see if we can use it. So I'll just get the home phone field here, which is this phone right here, and this is a phone field. All right, phone type field. And let me use this length function, len. It returns the number of characters. Okay, so if I use the len function, I just have to enclose this field with the function and I simply have to say if this is not equal to 10, I want to see the error. What error? Home phone should always be 10 digits only. All right, let's check syntax and see if this is correct or not. No errors found. All good. Let's click on the save button. Before that, I'll just choose the field. Let's say save. Let's give it a try. This is the home phone field and let me just put something that is maybe longer. Let's say save. It says it should always be 10 digits. What if I put something shorter? It still says the same thing. There are 3 plus 3, 6 characters here. I'll just put 4 more and I'll try to save it now. So it's saved up fine. All right. So that's how you have been able to validate mobile fields now. Phone fields, like whatever the number of characters you want to accept, only that number of characters should be accepted, nothing less, nothing more. All right. Great. See, pretty easy to do, but once you understand it, right? It's so simple. It's just that we did not know about it, maybe, right? The functions are available, the validation rules are available, and there's no coding required. You can simply use the rules and you can put it here. Okay, fancy. Let's jump into the use case 7. This says if billing state is Florida, shipping state should also be Florida. All right. So billing and shipping, I believe, are again on the contact object. Let's take a look at contact validation rules. This is contact here. So you have mailing address, other address. Let's see, it might be on the accounts tab maybe. Yeah, it will be on the account tab. Billing is on the account, right? So you have billing and shipping, right? So if you go here and you try to say that the billing state is Florida, then shipping state should also be entered as Florida, or else just throw the error. Okay, it depends on another field. That's the idea. So I'll just go to accounts. I'll say validation rules. All right, let's read it again. So if billing state is Florida, shipping state should also be Florida. So what is your error condition? Think for a moment. I'm stopping here. Just think for a moment. What should be your error condition? If billing state is Florida and shipping state is not Florida, correct? You need to write the error condition. Always remember that. Don't write the success condition. You'll do the reverse thing. All right, let's say new. I'll say address state validation. All right. Now here I want to insert the fields. So I'll say, let's do our same thing. Billing state equals Florida and shipping state not equal to Florida. All right. This is pretty much our use case. Do I want to change the and to the function? Let's do that. Let's just put a comma here, segregate this, put the and function on top, and enclose this with the and function, and the comma is available here. This is the logical statement 1. This is logical statement 2. Let's give it a check, and there are no errors found, right? I'll say shipping state should also be Florida. All right, let's just say save. Very simple, right? Let's now just say Florida here, and I'll say Florida here, and I'll just say save. It says shipping state should also be Florida, meaning it's not letting me put something else. What about if I put Pennsylvania, right? Let's say save. Even this will not be allowed. Why? Because if billing state is Florida, it has to be Florida here as well. What if I put Pennsylvania as the billing state? Should it allow me? Yes, because the prerequisite is not there. I don't need if I have not put Florida here, right? Only in this case, I have to ensure that this is Florida as well. And only when I do that, it will let me save it. See, works perfectly fine. All right. Use case number 8. If billing city is Kansas City, shipping city can either be San Francisco or California, right? What does this mean? This means that you have two fields. Again, on the account object, this time it is not state, it is city. So if billing city is Kansas City, shipping city can either be one of these. It can either be San Francisco or California. How do I do that? Take a pause, give it a try. If you're not able to do it, that's perfectly fine. Let's take a look at the solution. Okay, so I'll jump in here. I'll create a new validation, and this time I'll say address city validation, right? And now I need to put the condition. So I'll say billing city is equal to Kansas City and shipping city can be is not San Francisco and shipping city is not California. Now let's read it properly. Okay, so I put the and condition here. So let's put this down. What I'm trying to say is if the billing city is Kansas City and the shipping city is neither this nor this, is when I want to throw the error. Does that make sense? Does that make sense? How do I write it? Let's just replace all the keywords with operators. So this will be and, this will be not equal to, is not, right? So I'll say is not. This is also is not. Okay, so that is pretty much it. But how do you ensure that this is given priority first? Okay, because you have three conditions and they are given operators. Now, how does the system understand which has to be taken as priority? So you need to put these two guys in a bracket if there's a different condition criteria. In this case, you have all the operators as and, that's why you don't need to put a criteria. But if you have, let's say, or, right? In that case, you have to ensure that you put braces to identify who gets the priority. All right, let's try to write this in a better way. So I'll say and my first condition is billing city equals Kansas City, comma. What's my second condition? My second condition is that the shipping city is not San Francisco. What's my third condition? My third condition is that the shipping city is not California. What does that mean? If I just close the bracket here and just get rid of this. See, this is comparatively neater and easier to read and understand. That's why I try to use the logical operator available instead of using the ampersand signs and all of that. And just I try to segregate them line by line. Every operator gets their own line, so it is very much readable. See, it's very clean. Okay, try doing that for better results and efficient reading of validation rules. How do you read it? I read it as if the billing city is Kansas City and the shipping city is neither San Francisco and it is not California, only then I want to throw the error. Is that correct? Yes, it is correct because this means that they have chosen the billing city as Kansas City and they have not entered any one of these values, which are the only acceptable values, right? So this is how you would write it. I'll say check syntax, looks good. I'll say city should either be SF or CF, just for shortcut, right? San Francisco and California. I'll just say save. Okay, let's give it a try. This is on account. I am on the billing address. Let's put city as any random city. Okay, and I don't do anything. I put DXP. Will it save? It will save up fine because the prerequisite is not being met. Now I put Kansas City here. What should happen? Let's see. So if I put Kansas City and I leave this as is, let's say where is my city? It is Dubai, right? Let's say I leave it as is and I say save. This throws an error. It says city should either be SF or CF. So I'll say okay, fine. I'll choose California if that's the reason, and I say save. This works fine, right? You want to check whether it accepts San Francisco also? Let's give it a try. It should accept. Okay, so that was our use case 8. Pretty decent, pretty quick, but learning a lot of things. Right? In this use case, we talked about how you can make your use cases read only. I mean, readable, right? For someone else, for yourself. Don't try to use those ampersand and or signs, and don't try to complicate things which are simple, right? Try to give each line to each operator, and that will be your magic. That will make your life much, much easier. Okay, great. Let's take a look at the next use case, which is use case 9. This says if product interest is of G5000 series and primary is set to yes, number of locations should not be more than 100 on the lead record. So which object is it? It is the lead record object. Okay. What are the fields? You have three fields: product interest, you have the primary checkbox, and then number of locations. Okay. Let's write this in our English language on the validation rule page. Let's go there. Okay. We'll do it step by step. Don't worry. So we come here on the leads page. We go to the validation rules and then we write a new validation rule here. Okay. So this is location validation. All right, a very vague name, but yeah, you can do better. All right, I'll say the criteria, the number of locations for G5000 series should not be more than 100. That's the ask. Okay, now what does it say? It says that the product interest is of G5000 series. Okay, so I'll say product interest is equal to G5000 and primary is set to yes. The primary flag is equal to true and the number of locations should not be more than 100, meaning they have entered something that's more than 100. So number of locations is greater than 100. If these three things happen is where I want to throw the error. Is that agreed or not? Just read it again. Right? So if these three things are true is where my error condition meets and I need to throw the error. So now let's bring our fields. This is how we have written it in English. Now let's give it Salesforce their own language. So I'll just go to product interest. I'll get this field and this is a pick list field, remember, okay? I'm saying G5000. What do you have to do? Either use ispicval or text. Awesome, you are learning. Great. Text or ispicval. This is my first condition. And do you want to surround it already with the AND function? Yes, let's do it. We are very clear on that. So I'll put the AND condition here. Okay. And then what is the primary flag? Let's bring the primary field. This is the primary field, which is again a pick list. So I'll say primary equals yes. That was the ask, right? The primary is set to yes. So I'll choose the this value and I'll say is pickval for this one. That's okay. You can use any of the two functions available. It's just that the syntax is different. Comma and then the value. So if this will be equal to yes, this will evaluate to true. And then the third condition is the number of locations. So what about the number of locations? This field right here, which is a number, this is more than 100. Okay, that's our condition. That's our condition. Three logical statements inside a AND condition. Okay, I'll simply say check syntax. All good. I'll say number of locations. All right, let's say save. Let's give it a test. So this is on what object? On the lead object. Let's go to leads. Let's open a lead here. And now let's try to first find the error scenario. Product interest I'll choose as G5000. So let's go to details. Product interest is here. So I'll choose G5000 series. This has the series keyword also, so we need to ensure that we write the relevant exact name, or else it will not match. Okay, or else you can choose to use the begins function. If you have a if you want to do a fuzzy logic instead of exact logic, you can use a function and you can simply say that it does it begin with 5 G5000 or does it include G5000, right? You can do those kind of things. So I'll simply say equal to G5000 series. This is GC 5000, right? So let's revisit it. This should be GC. I might have done a small typo here. So this should be GC. All right, let's say save. So that's my first field. But second field is primary should be set to yes. That was my second field. And the number of locations should not be more than 100. So let me just go ahead and say 101, doing a boundary testing. I'll say save. So it says the number of locations for this particular series should not be more than 100. The typo is wrong on the validation rule, but we can fix that. Awesome. Great. One more thing I would like to talk here is what if you had something like if the product, let me just modify this. If the product interest is of GC5000 series or the primary is set to yes, the number of locations cannot be more than 100. What if this was an or? How would you write it now? How would you write it? In this case, what would change? How would you write it in English is what you need to figure out. So I'll say if the product interest is equal to GC5000 or, now what is the operator for or? You have an or operator which is like this. Where do I see the or operator? It's here, to this, like this. Okay, or I'll just put or for now and I'll say primary is equal to yes. Either one of them are true and the number of locations is greater than 100 is when I want to throw the error. Now how do I write that in Salesforce? So you see these two conditions are in the or condition, meaning in this and condition, these two are separated out and they go within an or condition. Okay, I have to remove the comma here and put a comma here because this now becomes one logical statement. This becomes the second logical statement. Let's just expand this and understand this properly. Now see, what have I done? I have said that I have an AND condition of two things. The first thing is this particular condition, which is a multi-logical statement block, and this is one single one. Okay, now how do you read it? Let's get rid of the English language so that you understand the Salesforce language. Now, if I read this, I'll say if the product interest is of GC 5000 series or the primary is set to true, because the OR condition is here, if any one of them is true and why and? Because the and is here and the number of location is more than 100 is when I want to throw the error. Let's check if the syntax is correct. It is correct. All right, I'll just get rid of the extra spaces. No point putting extra spaces and I'll save it. Now what will happen is you don't have to work on the combination. Even if you choose this as yes or you choose this as GC 5000 and the number of location is more than 100, it will throw the error. Let's say I put GC 1000 here, but primary is set to yes, it will still throw the error. See, it is still throwing the error. What if I put this to no and I put this as GC 5000? It will still throw the error, meaning the OR condition is working. Got it? Either this or this. The previous one was both of them have to be together, more like an AND condition. Okay, and what if I put something that's less than 100? It should successfully pass. That's the success condition. It works. All right, that's how you put nested conditions. So you might have like scenarios wherein you have to put 5 OR conditions, 3 AND conditions. Don't panic. Try to bring that down into your notebook or your some page or paper. Try to write that in your language and then just convert the operators, just convert the fields, get the fields from the insert field option and just put the values. As simple as that. Let's not overcomplicate things which are easy, right? Let's not do that. So the primary idea is to write it down and understand what the question wants in our language. Once we understand what is needed, it will be very easy to tell Salesforce what is needed. We don't do the bit which is in the middle. Sometimes we directly jump into the problem and try to bring a solution without even thinking about it. The idea is to apply. The idea is to think more about it and just think of the solution in your head and then put it on paper or somewhere else. Okay, and that's the idea. Great. We are doing validation rules like we are pro. Awesome. Let's delete these validation rules for now. Let's jump into our next use case. What's our next use case? Our next use case is use case 10, which says if rating of an account is hot, number of employees should be more than 5,000 and annual revenue should be more than 50,000. Okay, so it says if the user has chosen rating as hot, how would you write it? I'll encourage you, if you have been through the last 9 use cases, take a pause in this one. Don't look at the video. Okay, even if you're not confident, I'll just say give it a try. Let's see what happens. What's the worst can happen? You might end up not solving it. That's okay, right? So let's give it a try. Let's try. Let me see you figuring it out yourself, writing it your own language, and then try to solve it. Right? Just give it a try. I'm sure you'll be able to do it. Okay. All right. So if rating of an account is hot, so I'll say if rating is hot, the number of employees should be more than 5,000 and annual revenue should be more than 50,000. Meaning I have to put this condition on the account validation rules. Let's go into account validation rules. Let's come here. Let's get rid of the previous validation rules. I just don't want any blockers. Let's just get rid of them. And let's now say new. All right. This time it is on the rating. So I'll say rating based validation. Okay. So I'll say if rating is hot, rating equals hot, right? Now I think you're comfortable with the and condition. So I'll say and number of employees should be more than 5,000, meaning what should be the error condition if they have not put more than 5,000, correct? So if they put number of employees less than 5,000, that's my error condition, correct? Agreed? I hope you are with me. Awesome. And annual revenue should be more. So if they put something less than 50,000, so annual revenue they have put less than 50,000. If these three go hand in hand is where my error condition meets. All right, let's convert this into Salesforce language. I'll just say rating. Always take a look at what is the type of the field that you're picking here, which is mentioned right here. If you insert the pick list, you already know that you need to convert it to a text field, right? So you already know here, you don't have to wait for the check syntax. So I'll say text of rating should be equal to hot, and you already know that everything is in an and condition. I'll choose the and condition button. Okay, let's get rid of this and let's bring the other two fields. So number of employees, this is the field, okay, is less than 5,000, and the third condition is annual revenue. So let's get the annual revenue, and this is less than 50,000. And I'll just close the and bracket. Okay, each logical statement that you write in an and or an or clause has to be separated with a comma, except for the last one. You see there's a comma here, there's a comma here. Sometimes what happens is if I miss this comma and I say check syntax, okay, it says syntax error missing bracket. See, it says missing bracket. Why? Because it's trying to understand, okay, you put the second one as without the comma, meaning you need to close it here. That's what it's trying to say. And we get all panicked, oh my god, what's wrong? And sometimes it's not this straightforward, right? You might have 10s and 12 10s and 15 or 20 statements written, very difficult to debug. So always ensure that you write your blocks very sensibly and give relevant spaces so that you don't mess it up in the end when you check the syntax. And right, this error message is correct. It is asking, it is expecting a bracket because you did not put a comma, right? But because we have three statements, the comma should be here, and now it will understand, okay, this is statement one, statement two, statement three. Oh, after statement three there's no comma, they should have put a bracket. They did. All good. Check syntax, no errors found. Fancy. All right, great. I want to say rating does not match with revenue and employee data. Just giving something relevant. All right, and this is my condition. I'll say save. Let's give it a try. Now what I'll do is I'll go to accounts. I'll choose a rating as hot. Let's give it a save. Right, it's saved up fine. Okay, but what if I put something that's more than 5,000? Let's say number of employees. Where's number of employees? This right here. I put number of employees as 6,000. This should also save up fine. Let's give it a try. All good. But what if I put something that's less than 5,000? I'll say 2,000. Save. This is saving up fine. Why? Because the third field is not evaluating to true. Okay. Now the annual revenue should also be less than 50,000. Right now it's an empty value. So it does not consider that, and it's evaluating itself to true. Okay. Because it's an empty value here. But as soon as I give it a 45,000 value, which is less than 50,000, the error will start popping up. You see, the rating does not match with revenue and employee data. Okay, and if I put something that's more than this value, now the where's my other value, employees, this field will start throwing the error. Oh, it did not. Let's see why. So the number of the annual revenue, true, because it's not in an or condition, right? Even if one of the conditions fail, it will not trigger the error condition. So all three things have to be true. So the rating is hot. Yes. The number of employees is less than 5,000. Yes. And is the annual revenue also less than 50,000? No. So true and false is false. So it will not trigger this particular rule. Okay. What if we had to do something where if the rating is hot, you cannot go away with any one of these information. I want both the information to be true. Okay. There you would introduce an or condition. What do I mean? I mean that if the rating is hot, either the number of employees should be more than 5,000 or annual revenue should be more than 5,000. This is my new use case, let's say. So how would I write it? I would write it as and if the rating is hot, that's my first condition, and I would put these two guys in an or condition. As simple as that. What does this mean? This means that if the rating is hot and if any one of these are true, I want to throw the error condition. Okay, I think I messed up here. Let me just double check. So if rating is hot, okay, now either number of employees should be more than 5,000. So either number of employees should be more than 5,000 or annual revenue should be more than 50,000. So let's give it a try. So if I put hot as the rating and I go with 5,000 follow 6,000 number of employees, right? In this case, it should not throw the error, correct? Because if the rating is hot, I've chosen this as the value, right? 6,000 is more than 5,000, so that's true. So one of the conditions are met. It should not throw the condition error. It should let me save it. So let's give it a try. Okay, so I'll just keep it here and I'll give it a try. Let's say save. Let's debug this. Okay, I think I might be confused. Maybe you are not, but let's give it a try. So the rating is hot. Okay, now one of them have to be true. So if I put 6,000 as the number of employees, let's see what happens. Should it let me pass? It should let me pass according to the use case, because if the rating is hot, only one of them have to be true. Correct? Let's say save. So this is letting me pass. All right. Now let's do another use case. If this is 6,000 and let's say this is less than 50,000, let's put this as 45,000. What happens? Let's see. So you see, this is failing, but ideally should it fail? It should not, because I have satisfied the condition of number of employees, right? So the first condition is true. The second might be false, that's okay. But if any one of them matches, I should be able to save it. It should not throw me the error. Okay, which means there's something wrong with our validation rule, like I thought. So let's go ahead and say edit. The problem is, if the rating is equal to hot, I want to work on this section, which is creating the chaos, right? Either this should be less than 5,000. No, it should not be. Now that's where the English statement comes in handy, right? Let me write it again. If the rating is hot, I need to write the error condition. Remember, I need to write the error condition. The problem happened because I directly solved the Salesforce condition. So let's write the statement again. If the rating is hot and number of employees is less than 5,000 and annual revenue is less than 50,000. If this is true, what does this mean? This means that you have put the rating as hot and you have ensured that neither this matches the criteria and this matches the criteria. That's when I want to throw the error, right? Because none of the two fields are matching your criteria. So if the number of employees are also less than 5,000 and annual revenue is also less than 50,000 and rating is hot, is when I want to throw the error. Make sense? Right? So this is how it should be written. It should be in an and condition like this. And this time it should be fine. Okay, meaning if the rating is hot and none of these have been validated properly, is when I want to throw the error, right? Any one of them is false, go ahead, let them save it, which is basically nothing but the either or criteria. Okay, all right, let's give it a save. And let's go back here and let's try to save it now. It should save because my number of employees are more than 5,000. So either this or this. Now, if my number of employees are also less, that's when it will fail. Let's just say 4,000. So you see, both are less. But what if this is now more? Should it save now? See, either or will work. It is now saving, right? Now let's go back to our first use case, what we did. So number of employees should be more than 5,000 and annual revenue should also be more than 5,000. Now let's write this again. Maybe we made a mistake in the first use case also, the one that we actually were solving. So I'll say if rating is hot and number of employees should be more than 5,000 and the annual revenue should also be more than 50,000. Okay, so this means that the user cannot go away with one of the conditions. He has to ensure all the three conditions meet. All right, how do I ensure that? So number of employees, if they are less than 5,000 or the revenue is less than 50,000 is when I want to throw the error. So if the rating is hot and if any one of these is also true, I want to throw the error. Does that make sense? Take your time. See, I got confused. You might be super confused or you might be sorted, but take your time and understand this. You see how language written here confuses us so easily. You see, the number of employees should be more than 5,000 and revenue should be more than 50,000. But this is the success criteria. What we need to write here is the error criteria, and this is where we fail most of the time, right? And what do I do to write this error criteria? I am saying if the rating is hot and the number of employees are less than 5,000 or annual revenue is less than 50,000, meaning if they are not able to suffice any one, I want to throw them an error. Which scenario will pass here? Let me give you an example. If let's say the value I'm choosing is hot, 6,000 and 55,000, right? As part of this use case, the rating is hot, the number of employees are more than 5,000 and the rating is more and the revenue is more than 50,000. So it should let you save it. This will let you save it. How? Rating equals hot, true. Number of employees less than 5,000. So 6,000 is less than 5,000. What will this evaluate as? False, because 6,000 is greater than 5,000. And annual revenue is less than 50,000. Is 55,000 less than 50,000? No, this is also false. So true and false will be false. So this will not trigger. This will let you save it because you are in the right space. But as soon as you choose to just, change one of the values, 45,000, let's say. So now hot, this is 6,000 is more than 5,000, but revenue is less. So should it let you save it? No, it should throw you the error. So if you now check rating is hot, true. Number of employees less than 5,000. 6,000 is less than 5,000, false. But 45,000 is less than 5,000 becomes true. So what is your final outcome? True and false or true. What is false or true? It is true. So true and true becomes true and it throws you the error, which is correct. All right. So this has to be basically set as or here. And that's it. You should be good. Let's say check syntax. All right. Let's say save here. Now let's give it a try. So if I just go ahead and say number of employees are less than 5,000, which is let's say 4,500, right? And my rating is hot, correct? But my annual revenue stays more than 50,000. So what should happen? It should throw the error. Why? Because both of them should match the criteria, right? And what if as soon as I choose 5,100 here, which is more than 5,000, I'll say save. This works fine. All right. We made a bit of a hodgepodge here, but then I hope towards the end, when we actually looked at the use case converted into English, basically creating the relevance of what I said, the middle layer is important. Directly jumping into the Salesforce language does not help. Just because this is and here does not mean and will work directly on the validation rules. All right. So I hope I was able to explain you the and or situation in both kind of scenarios. The either or and both should be true. All right. That covers the pretty quick 10 use cases that I wanted to do. I wanted to explain you the very basics of validation rules and also give you ideas around some functions and basically clear your head around readability, not making things complicated, and most importantly, adding a layer of you writing things in English or your own language and then converting it into Salesforce language. All right. So are you guys now ready for the assignment? Let's take a look. The assignment is very simple. It's just that it might use a function that I've not shown. Every contact record should have an account associated to it. Now just go ahead and try solving it and just write in the comment if you're able to solve it or not. Okay. So every contact record should have an account associated to it, meaning every contact will need a parent account. So how do you govern that? By validation rules. All right. That's your first assignment. I have another assignment for you, I believe. The other assignment is the contact email should follow the email pattern, meaning x at the rate, basically meaning, I'll just drill it down and make it simpler for you. Basically meaning it should contain at the rate, dot, and com. Let's just say these three things you want to check. Let's just say, okay, I want you to just give this a try. It should contain the at the rate keyword, it should contain the dot keyword, and it should contain the com keyword. Okay, so you can check like the way we check dot com, but then you also have to check the at the rate. Okay, so I want you to give these two things a try. All right, and just comment below which assignment were you able to solve, what was the problem, or was there any problem at all, and you're all good. Okay, these are the two assignments. You can just pause here or maybe some take a break and just come back and try to solve it, and then just let me know in the comments. All right. I hope this particular explained series was helpful. This validation rules is not just about writing validation rules. What we talked about here is very close to how you build your formulas, how you use formulas in flows, right? When you are building formulas in flows, you need the same kind of thinking capabilities. You need to get the same thinking cap on. Okay. When you do list view filters, you need the same reasoning logics that you put here. All of this is completely related. List view filters, formulas, validation rules, writing trigger if else conditions, creating formulas and variables in flows, creating decision elements in flows. Wherever you need a filter logic, everywhere this is required. And if you go through this particular explained series video, your basics get clear and you are good for all of these areas of skills that you need. Okay, so you don't have to struggle at things that are, that going very fast in flows. Let's say if I'm just creating a variable, I'm creating a decision node. It should not be like, oh my god, this decision node has four outcomes, and I'm not able to understand how did Himanshu filter the four outcomes. Why is he setting say 1 and 4 and 3 and 4 or 6 and 7? How is he doing that? How is he doing it so fast? Right? I want to create a list view filter, but I'm confused. I'm only not able to filter the list view myself. What will I do for the client? Right? I'm trying to write a formula, but I'm overcomplicating the formula because I'm not able to read and understand how I've written the formula. I'm trying to read a fellow developer's validation rule, but then it's very complicated because it has no proper readability, and he has done a lot of operators, ampersand, or, so that's okay. Bring that down to your notepad, your machine text Word document, somewhere you get it, and then try to bring it to what you understand, and then try to solve it. Should be doable, right? The idea is to not overcomplicate things. Everything is simple. Things are simple, but they're not easy, right? This is what I read in a book. Things are simple, but they're not easy. And if we try to overcomplicate things, that's another mess for us. All right, enough of philosophy. I was able to help you with 10 use cases, and there are two assignments that I hope you have been able to do. And I have shared my tips and lessons across. What I would encourage you to do is, if this video was helpful, I normally do not say that at all, but if this video was helpful and you have not subscribed my channel, just give it a subscription, and I'm sure you'll be impressed with the kind of content I deliver. And I put a lot of content, and very soon I'll be delivering. I'm currently working on the flows, and this is again Merry Christmas for everyone, and very blessed New Year for everyone. For those of you for whom the year was great, I hope the coming one will be superb. And for those of you who faced any kind of difficulties, may not be a very joyous year, I wish you great health and wealth in the upcoming year. All right. Apex curriculum is coming up, Lightning Web Components is coming up, more videos on flows are coming up. That series is still continuing. I'll be putting more content around Experience Cloud, advanced concepts. So a lot of things are coming. I'll suggest you subscribe my channel, and if you find my videos relevant, I'll request you to share that on your social media channels, right? Just give that a, that's more like a helping hand to me. That's all right, great. I would like to thank you for being so patient throughout and being able to successfully complete this particular lecture. You are awesome, and that's why I love creating content for you guys. I'll see you in the next tutorial. Till then, see you and happy learning. Merry Christmas once again. Bye.